Welcome to the Own Your Best Life podcast. I'm May Emson, your host, leadership and mindset coach. Here, we talk all things spiritual, mindset, business, leadership, and wellness for the modern seeker who wants to align their life with purpose and inspiration. We'll cover career changes, stress management, meditation, energy, intuition, and more. Each episode holds spiritual and practical tools to help you live a life of your wildest dreams without getting burnt out along the way. Ready to live a life on your own terms? This is the Own Your Best Life podcast. Welcome, friends, to episode number 95 of the Own Your Best Life podcast. So the more full our lives become, the more we want to simplify, to lessen, and to organize. And with so many demands, requests, and things in our lives coming in, we often feel the clutter of it all begin to overwhelm us. So we start to organize. And today we are going to take the first steps in organizing your life. So last week I talked about how I began organizing my kids' rooms and some of the areas of the house, like the art area that needed some TLC. And it felt so good to clean things up. It really did. I was just so proud of myself and of the girls and the whole family to see the before and after so clearly. There were so many crayons and books that weren't used anymore, and activity sets and things that they've outgrown. And we went from what felt like all the things everywhere, which is obviously an exaggeration, but it felt like that. All the things everywhere to fewer things in some places. And there was a feeling of calm. And it was so much so that the next morning, my daughter ran back into her room as she was heading out to school just to touch the organized art shelf. She couldn't wait to come back into her room after school, and it just felt so good to her now. And I know you all know that feeling of peace and calm that comes with seeing all of that outer chaos turn into something beautiful. And it is the power of organization. But if we love it so much, why isn't it just automatically the way we do things? Why do we struggle so much with being organized with our work, with our thoughts, or with our lives? So to organize is to create structure. It's to structure many parts into a whole. And when you think about the before and after of organizing, the before is the many parts, often with nowhere to go. And this is what causes a feeling of overwhelm. Say you get a request that comes in and you begin to work on it without thought of whether or not it belongs with you in your group, on your team, for something that you do. And one comes in and it's fine. But when many come in and you're not sure where they go, they all start to pile up in the form of unread emails or people you have to respond to. It's like this sense of a boomerang activity. You feel that by ignoring it, it goes out, but somehow it's still there and it comes right back. And the funny thing is, as soon as you clear one out, more comes. So our lives are inherently messy. An organization doesn't always feel natural because it can be difficult to define the structure of things. For example, with that art area, the first thing I needed to do was figure out where all the art supplies were going to go. I think of the experiences, the memories, and the things in our lives as energetic or physical matter that all need a place to go. And when we don't have time to think about a problem, it gets pushed aside to be dealt with, but we also know that we're not dealing with it, so we get nervous and we start feeling anxious. And the same thing happens with physical objects or areas of our lives. The same thing happens with money. If you have money coming in but you don't know where it's going, it also starts to create the sense of anxiety or nervousness. And the thing around this is it's the same idea with just concepts or problems. Do you know when you're going to talk about big topics with your team? Do you know when you're going to talk about big topics with your partners or the people in your lives? And it's often because creating structure or organizing will actually bring up decisions that we don't want to make, that we don't organize. we don't want to decide what we will no longer do or be or have. We would just rather accept the messiness and live with it. And so I think that there's this superficial organization that we do with our lives, whether it is the physical things around us or easy decisions that we make and we feel really good with. But what I'm challenging you here to think of are the places that are that next level for you. For me, it was like that art supplier or figuring out my kids' rooms as they are aging into different sets of activities and needs in the room for different kinds of spaces. It is the stuff that you almost don't want to get into because you think it will be a source of tension and a topic that's difficult to talk about. And that's the kind of organization that I'm also talking about as well. So an organized life comes from an organized mind. And the other day I was looking at Goodwill's website and I saw the statistic that 80% of the things we have, we don't use, which feels very scary. And it was a reminder that as much as we want to organize and streamline our days and our lives, we need to actually simplify at the same time. And the paradox of simplicity is that it requires higher quality thinking. That's why I say that it comes from the mind, and kind of as organized as we get in certain areas is as organized as our mind is in certain areas. So the same thing goes with there's a reason we haven't tackled certain things yet is because our minds are not there yet. And this is why in our personal and professional lives, those people who simplify complex ideas add the most value. So when you want to organize, you're asking yourself to elevate your thinking beyond accepting what already exists. It's harder to say no to people, places, opportunities as an achiever than it is to say yes. And what we forget in the process is that by saying no to something, we really are saying yes to other things that are even more important. And when we say no to random miscellaneous crayons, for example, we're saying yes to a beautiful art shelf where we use and enjoy using these art supplies. So the same thing goes for our professional and our business lives. When we say no to another project or offer, we are saying yes to doing the work we do have really, really well. And I know you all want to be best in class. And best in class looks like a devotion to something specific. Best in class doesn't mean you do all the things. Best in class looks like you do one thing really well. And we want to be the best in class. And organization helps us get there. When we start looking at how we spend our time, money, and utilize our space, we are organizing, simplifying, and inherently you are adding more value to your own life by putting a lot of pieces together into this structured whole. So I encourage you, if you're thinking of, okay, got it, I want to get started, I encourage you to think of this process as a creative process. And for those of you who aren't the best with structure, which you may resonate with, you may see organizing as inhibiting your creativity. And in reality, your organization of your life and your work is a unique process that you get to play with. When you move things around in your space, you feel like you're in a new place. I know I've done that before. Or move things around in my home, the furniture changes, you move something to another area, and suddenly it feels like a new life is in your home, or you feel like you've walked into a different place. And the same thing happens when you organize your life and your work. You just suddenly feel the energy shift, whether the energy is inside of you or around you, into something that's more open, more creative, more playful, more spacious. And that outer world is actually just beginning to mirror that inner calm that you so desperately desire and that you love. And so you can start with the places in your life where you spend most of your time. And if it's your work, start there. And then begin with the places within your work where you spend the most time. And when you think about these ideas, you're going to want to focus on what feels cumbersome or more difficult than it needs to be. How can you eliminate, reduce, or automate that activity? And do this before you start to organize. And I remember my trip to the Container Store where I began my journey to minimalism. And I would like to say that I am non-minimalist by any means. I am what Jay would call a less than maximalist. And then that place in that store is where I realized I was buying boxes to hold things I didn't even need or want. So get rid of the 80% of the things you never use. So this includes unsubscribing, automating things to go to junk in your emails, donating things, and pulling out all the things in your life to see what you need and don't need. The same process is the same for work, for home life, for physical things, for intangible things. You have to pull it all out, examine all of the things, and then cull, right? Slowly start to look at what is actually useful. Where are you spending your time? Where are you spending your energy, even emotionally? When you start to realize that most of your emotional energy is spent in certain thoughts and behaviors and patterns, you realize why you have certain results in your life as well. And so when you start to organize all these different areas into a section, whether it is digitally or in a physical space, that is the next step. So pull everything out, start with the places that are the hardest and messiest or where you spend the most time. And this is where you're going to see a lot of improvement. And there's this idea about making space that I want to talk to, because I remember coming back to this when I began organizing the art area and the kids' rooms. I was looking at the home edit book for ideas for how to put some things together. And they had a suggestion for always leaving 20% of empty space. And I remember thinking, oh, I've heard of this concept before. I remember this. When we were moving in, I had this giant kind of bookshelf that was built in, and it was beautiful because it was empty and you got to put each thing in. But I remember thinking, I want to leave space in there. And so leaving an empty space, whether it is just a single empty shelf or an area of your shelf or a drawer or a section of the drawer, this is what we're talking about. It's more than just leaving some additional space for that random thing that might come in. The concept is about utilization. When you run a production line, for example, you don't want to be at 100% capacity because you have no room for variation. And the same thing goes for our home lives and our minds and our physical spaces and our professional spaces. We need space to accommodate life's changing needs. It's constantly changing, isn't it? And that's what frustrates us. As soon as we get it all organized and it fits exactly right, it doesn't fit again. And we can't expect that we have it all perfectly organized. We change as life changes. And we leave room for things to expand or reduce. It doesn't mean you're not organized if you have your life change and things get messy again. The same thing goes for the ability for leaving room for things to expand. We organize, we're going to structure, we're going to clean, and we're going to simplify, and it's going to be again and again and again. And I love this process, even though I know that that middle part can be extremely messy. It's like when you're cooking a meal and just all the things come out, and you're trying to clean as you go and keep everything organized. But you know that in the midst, it doesn't look like the end result. So sometimes we don't want to dive in because it means the mess will emerge. But when you've done the organization before in other parts of your life and you've seen the benefits, you're more likely to want to keep going. But if you're just starting to get into this idea, and there might be a space in your life where it's easier for you to organize, and there's other parts where you feel like I have such a hard time figuring out how to bucket these things. It's okay, right? This is a learning process. So I encourage you to be okay with everything coming up and out, making some hard decisions, which you will have to do, and then deciding to love what remains. So take a moment this week to think about where you need organization the most, and it will likely be a pain point, unfortunately, but it's true. The amazing thing is that if it is a pain point, it is also likely a huge opportunity where you're going to find an immense amount of relief once you've begun to tackle that project. So I'm sending you lots of energy because you'll need it, and hope because you'll need it as you embark on this journey of organizing your life. And I will tell you, it is so, so worth it. So if you want to learn more about all these topics, how you can experience this in your own life, you can schedule a free coaching consultation today. And no matter what success means to you, coaching helps you get there faster and more sustainably. We will work towards results in every area of your life, whether it is time management, career and business, or energy management, so you can improve your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health and build the confidence in designing your own life. So if you've got some changes, some things you need to organize in your mind and you want support in thinking through, you can book your free consultation at www.mayemson.com/contact today. So I love you, my friends. I hope you have an amazing week. You start to feel into this topic of organization a little bit more, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Own Your Best Life. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, can you please rate and review on iTunes? I would so appreciate it. Share it with a friend, take a screenshot of it, and tag @MayEmson. This helps continue to get the word out. For more show notes and resources, check out www.mayemson.com. You'll have all the links to everything you heard here today. Thanks so much for listening. It's time to own your best life.